Now I am going to show you how to do cutwork embroidery. Cutwork embroidery, first we have to select the pattern which we are doing the cutwork embroidery. First do the basic stitches, foundation stitches, and then we cut the appropriate portion of the design pattern. For that we need to do a base stitch of stem stitch. Along the outline of the pattern, a foundation row of stem stitch. Do it according to the shape of the petal. Similarly, do the stem stitch along the outline of each petal. Now the foundation stitch, stem stitch has been done all over the pattern. Now for doing the cut work, we have to do another stitch on top of this layer. Either it can be blanket stitch or overcast stitch. I will show you blanket stitch here. On top of the stem stitch, foundation stitch, we are doing blanket stitch. We need to do tight stitches. The stitch should not be loose. It has to be tight. Only then after doing the cutting, after doing the cut work, after you cut the portion we have to cut, it will not become loose. Take a stitch, put the thread down, blanket stitch. Take a stitch, thread goes below the needle. Take a stitch, thread goes below the needle. Here I have done buttonhole stitch or blanket stitch. In this petal I will show you how to do overcast stitch. Overcast stitch is just take straight stitches. Just take straight stitches along the on top of the already done stem stitch. It has to be very tight. After completing the embroidery all over the pattern, either with blanket stitch or overcast stitch, we have to cut the portion that needs to be shown. For cutting, we use either this cutwork scissors. This is called cutwork scissors. It is bent in the upper portion of the, it is bent near the tip. This we use for cutting the marked portion. I will show you how to cut it. When the scissors is bent, it is easy to cut it along the outline and it will not enter the other portion. It's easy to cut it along the curved line. You can use a thinner scissors as well. The tip should be sharp, thinner scissors. Should be very pointed and very sharp. This is one method of first doing the embroidery, like first layer of stem stitch and then one layer of blanket stitch on top of that. Then we have cut the required portion. I will show you another type of cut work in which first the fabric is cut and then the embroidery is done. In this method we have just finished the embroidery and then the unwanted portion has been cut off. I already told you, first we have to make a foundation row of stem stitch and then on top of it we do overcast stitch or blanket stitch. Here it is overcast stitch and here it is blanket stitch. Now I'll show you one more method of supposing you want this outline to be thicker. We just place a thick thread on top of the line outline and then do the overcast stitch. I will show you. I have taken 6 strands of thread. Just place it on the outline. You can even keep woolen yarn, thick woolen yarn, or you can keep twine or a thick cord as thick as you want, and then do the overcast stitch on top of that. Actually it is done with the same color. Just to show the differentiation, I am showing it to you in a contrast color. Just hold the base thread and do the overcast stitch or blanket stitch on top of that. Now you can see the overcast stitch is thicker than the normal overcast stitch. And if you keep twine or even a thicker thread, thicker cord and do the overcast stitch, you will get a very thick outline. In the previous method, I showed you first how to do the cutwork embroidery and then finally cut the portion which need to be removed. Now in this method, first we will do the cutting and then we'll do the embroidery. Here I will show you how to cut this portion. These are the lines which we have to work, but generally we used to do the embroidery here and then finally cut the portion. But in this method, see, this is a continuous portion, so we can first do the outline, then cut this portion, cut this portion out and then do the lines. You have to be very careful not to damage the embroidery done. Now we have removed this portion. See, here you can see these lines have to be done here, for which join the thread here and take a stitch here. This is called a bridge. Now you can see this is called a bridge. I have taken the thread from here to here, which can be done twice or thrice depending on the required thickness. Maximum thrice should be fine. Now a bridge has been formed. And now you can do either overcast stitch or blanket stitch on top of the bridge. Now the blanket stitch is being done on the bridge, only the thread. Now the last stitch can be done on the cloth, on the already done embroidery stitch. Now we can do the next bridge. Next bridge connecting this, the right side and the left. It has to be little tight because we are just going to do the stitches on the thread. Since there is a big gap, it might become loose. So it is better to do the bridge a little tight. Thrice I have done thrice. Now we can start going for the blanket stitch on top of the bridge. Now you can see the bridge. Likewise, each bridge is being done and complete the pattern. In cutwork embroidery, I am going to show you how to make an eyelet. Eyelet is without, first usually in cutwork embroidery, we do the embroidery and then cut the inner portion of the embroidery. Here we first cut the portion we want to stitch, and then do the embroidery on top of that. See, we have cut the center portion of the eyelet, the teardrop shape. Start doing blanket stitch or overcast stitch. Be it overcast stitch or blanket stitch, we have to make it very tight. You can see the eyelet hole. This is the eyelet. First we have to cut this portion and then do the embroidery on top of it. Now I'll show you how to do the eyelet in a circle, in a round. Here in a small circle you don't have to make a hole in the center. You don't have to cut the center point. Just go into the center and do overcast stitches. Very tight overcast stitches. Do the overcast stitch in one center point, the same point. You have to take the stitch in the same center point. See, I have not done any incision or any cut in the center, but after doing the overcast stitch in the same center point, a hole automatically forms in the center. You do not have to do any. This is one type of eyelet in the round shape. This is the teardrop shape. You must have seen this type of eyelet in baby frocks and all linen. This is one type of eyelet. Here you can see blanket stitch has been done, and here you can find the bridge, and this is the eyelet hole. The bridge has been done.